Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. We're glad you're here today. To our visitors, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope so far you've had a nice time. First, I'd like to welcome Pastor Charles Johnson, who will lead our invocation, followed by Calvin Dennis, who will accompany us perform the national anthem. And to you, those of you in line still at the back of the buffet, if you'd stay quiet for a moment. Thank you.
Let's pray together. Thou hast given so much to me, give one thing more, a grateful heart, not thankful when it pleaseth me, as if thy blessings had spare days, but such a heart whose pulse may be thy praise. We count our many blessings, O God, we name them one by one. Grateful for this day and the opportunities to serve and love and learn that you are giving us. For good food so beautifully prepared and professionally served, we give you thanks. For this tremendous fellowship and the high purpose and the productive conversations and networking that we have in this Rotary Club, we're so grateful. It's a privilege to be a part of a group like this. Hear our prayer, O God, for our nation, for our president, for our Congress, for our governor, our legislature, our city council, our mayor, our county court, all those in authority and public service, not personal service, not naked self-interest, but the interests of everyone, from the weakest and the least to the greatest. Oh Lord, we pray that you would give your power to those who love. And we pray that you would give your love to those who exert power. May our leaders be given wisdom and discernment. Forgive us for when they pursue their own interests. Forgive us for all of the corruption, for all of the self-dealing, and forgive us for tolerating it in our leaders. It's good to be on your planet, oh God. We're grateful for this day. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Amen. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare of bursting in they proved through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Whatever he says, that's okay. Just do it, too. You all may have noticed when you sat down at your tables, there were some Texas flags that were there. I want to thank my friends Steve and B. Simons of Simons Flags. They donated those to all of us today, and it was a very nice gesture. We really appreciate it. And by the way, Steve and or B, well probably Steve and B or Steve, are going to be joining us in the near future as members of the club, so we look forward to that. Okay, I'd like to welcome Ed McClin to the stage to announce our visitors.
President Tom, I'm so glad you asked that. Okay, folks, we got a lot of guests here today, so I'm probably going to have to put my food in the microwave by the time I'm done. But as I announce your name, would you please stand so everybody will know who you are? First guest, Paul Latham, who's a guest of Brad Nallen. Brendan Harrington brought two guests, Jason Kopp and Daniel Savrud over here. Arthur Bay is a guest of Ryan Perucci over here. Rebecca Thomas is a guest of our speaker, Karen Telschow Johnson. And President Tom Law has Steve and B. Simons as guests. Ed Macklin, oh, that's me. I have two guests, Brad Eckhoff and Lauren Kilpatrick. Past President Carlo Capua has Irene Chase as a guest over there. Chris Jordan brought two guests today, Rachel Labus and Shauna Perry over here. Crystal Galvan has a guest, Hilda Toole right there. Sean O'Mahony is a guest of Zoran Luttrell. Back there. Paula Parrish has a guest, Lauren Morgan over there. Linda Lopez, oh, she beat me. She has four guests. Carolyn Perez, right there. Salma Burri, did I sound that right? Candace Shandard. Oh, okay, I think that's that right. And Crystal Holland. And then, last but not least, Chris Lane is a guest of Courtney Lewis over there. Back to you, President Tom.
Okay, guests, again, thanks for coming today. Now remember, your name is pronounced only as well as you write your name on the paper. So we really try our best to be really good at that and meet you at the door, but sometimes it's hard to recite those. I want to take a moment to thank today's program sponsor, Telschow Johnson Law. At Telschow Johnson Law, they understand that planning for the future requires more than just paperwork. It requires a trusted partner who listens, educates, and empowers you to make the right decisions for your family. Their Fort Worth-based team provides thoughtful, personalized legal services in estate planning, elder law, probate, guardianship, and disability planning. Whether you're creating your first will, navigating Medicaid qualifications, or protecting a loved one with special needs, they are here to guide you with compassion and expertise every step of the way. So thank you very much for being here, speaking today, and especially sponsoring our meeting. That's great. Now let's recite the four-way test. Is it the truth? Spare at all concern. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? If you'd leave that up there just for a moment, please. Last week, as I was thanking our speaker, I briefly recalled a visit I had to the shopping center, the Grand Plaza, many, many years ago, and I made a remark about my own inability to understand and speak Spanish, especially the Spanish-speaking order taker at the food court. The intent was to poke fun at myself. I did not mean to disrespect anyone, and I even said so, but nevertheless, the remark did not set well with some of our visitors and also who heard it in the room. So it did not meet the four-way test, and I sincerely apologize for that remark. So thank you. Okay, now make sure that you all give our newscaster all the usual respect that we normally do. Those of you who are visiting today, you'll see what that is in just a moment. So welcome Kathy to the stage.
Here we go. Okay. Come on, keep going. There you go. No. I might need CPR by the time this is done. Let's see. Today's headlines come from the Fort Worth Report, 817 Biz, the Fort Worth Business Press, and Forbes. 4 sources proving you can stay informed without leaning to the person beside you and asking, now what did Fox News tell us to be angry about? This is going to be really long, 3.5 minutes. I'm going to need you to come with me, okay? Today's speaker, Karen Telshaw Johnson, practices elder law and estate planning. Karen will caution you that if you don't create an estate plan, the state of Texas already has one for you. That's terrifying. Governor Abbott may put your entire inheritance into the rainy day fund, where it will be safely protected from blackouts, hurricanes, public schools, and apparently any actual rainy day. So call Karen, because "Don't mess with Texas" is a slogan, not an estate planning strategy. State pride is no substitute for an actual legal plan. The Fort Worth Report says Fort Worth faces a $94 million budget shortfall, but the average homeowner may save $21 on next year's tax bill. So relax, taxpayers. We're only about 4.5 million households away from solving it. This is a PG newscast. I'm going to need some more support. The Fort Worth Business Press also reported that the Wellman Project is opening a free community bookshop called Pages for People. That's wonderful. Free books available to everyone. Texas officials have already formed a committee to determine which part of that sentence is illegal. Forbes published its list of careers safest from artificial intelligence. Human resources made the list because firing someone still requires a uniquely human touch, specifically a calendar invitation titled "Quick Check-In." That was a good one, right? Okay. In Beijing, more than 2,000 humanoid robots competed in soccer, table tennis, and running. Experts say the robots are becoming faster, smarter, and more coordinated. The Dallas Cowboys have already asked whether any of them can play defense or manage the clock. Pretty good, right? Okay. These next ones are... I'm on a roll. American Airlines will take delivery of fewer new aircraft because of supplier delays. Fortunately, American says this won't affect its ability to disappoint you using the planes it already owns. Yes. And Morgan Stanley may bring 4,800 jobs to Dallas by 2039. Fort Worth congratulated Dallas and immediately asked how many of those employees would rather live somewhere with a personality. I have a Plano friend over here. He confirmed that, right? Yes. Huntington Bank signed a 10-year sponsorship agreement with the University of Texas Athletics. A decade-long financial commitment to the Longhorns. Finally, a banking product riskier than cryptocurrency. Meanwhile, TCU hired an NIL partnership sales associate. That's the person responsible for explaining why your annual donation now comes with a starting quarterback and a 1099. Okay, I only have like 2 more jokes. On this day in Camp Bowie officially opened and eventually trained more than 100,000 soldiers. Today, Camp Bowie continues preparing people for combat, mostly by making you turn left across lanes of traffic. And another article says multitasking actually makes us less productive. Rotarians, I know we're stunned. Apparently, eating lunch, checking email, and completely ignoring the speaker are 3 totally separate activities. Sorry, Karen. And finally, woo! I'm excited too. TCU opens its football season Saturday against North Carolina in Dublin, the first international game in Horned Frog history, and TCU has banned Amon Carter's newspaper from Amon Carter Stadium. The season hasn't even started, and TCU's defense has already stopped the press. There are 2 more lines. TCU will officially be the home team, 4,500 miles from Fort Worth, because apparently the NCAA's definition of home is now as flexible as its definition of amateur. So the Frogs are flying to Ireland, hoping Sonny Dykes remembers the way back to the playoffs before Bill Belichick remembers how to win without Tom Brady. That's the news.
Thank you, President-elect Kathy Neese-Brown. She actually is funny. That takes a lot of work to put those things together, but they come out very naturally for her. Now, a few years ago, we actually considered buying a hook, like one of those pool hooks, to pull people off the stage, but luckily we have not needed that lately. So I've got Greg Carter coming up to talk about community outreach volunteer opportunity. Greg?
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be with you all. Great job, Kathy. That was awesome. I'm here just to give everybody a save the date for the 2026 Fall Trinity River Trash Bash. So Saturday, September 19th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., we will walk the shores and pick up trash. Trash bags provided, breakfast tacos provided, coffee provided. I would suggest you bring your gloves. Y'all, this is a super easy volunteer opportunity along a beautiful stretch of river. It's about a 2-mile hike. We walk around, pick up the trash, and then literally leave it along the sidewalk. More details will come in the rotograph. In the meantime, if you want to reach out to President Tom or to Aurora or to me, if you're interested, let us know. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much, Greg. Now, this is the area that we adopted, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. And for those of you, just to clarify this again, I wish we had a picture of the sign, but we actually do have a sign out there in this particular area that does have our Rotary symbol on it, and it does say Rotary Club of Fort Worth. So none of us would want to have that as being a trashy area. I'm sure it's not. But everybody, please help participate in this. It is a lot of fun, like he was saying. So I've got a new blue badge for Zorn Luttrell. Zorn, come join me. You're not supposed to sit at the back of the room until you have a blue badge, but you still have a red badge on, so anyway. Okay, so it's taken some 3 years to get this to point. So Zoran was responsible or played a major role in remodeling our office, helping with that, and also he and his company provide a lot of the furniture down there. If not, much of it is heavily discounted, and some of it was just given to us. So we're very grateful. There were several people involved in that remodel, but we couldn't have done it like we did without Zoran. So we really do appreciate it. Now, why have you taken so long to get here? Because he kind of disappeared for a while. Still paid his dues, I believe, and then kind of came back, and some of you didn't even notice. That's it. But he's here now, so there he is. So congratulations on earning this blue badge. And you all may not be capturing these special photo moments every opportunity you have. These are things we want to have on our website and our social media, and I don't know, just for posterity. I mean, you may want to have it too. So thanks to those of you who are capturing this. I kind of still call you the press corps too. So they are the press corps, that's it. So now we have a new member introduction with Reverend Johnson. Would you come introduce our new member, please? And notice he just walked in front of the camera and stepped on the stage.
What was that?
Just from a production point of view.
Well, I just barely navigated that physical challenge right there. It's my pleasure to introduce Zach Leonard. Zach, if you'd come up here, please, and stand beside me. I want our fellow Rotarians to know who you are. I met Zach, I guess, about 2 years ago. I don't remember exactly when, but I do remember the occasion because his pastor introduced him to me. The wonderful Reverend Mary Spradlin, Arlington Heights United Methodist Church. Her bishop has appointed her as over 65 Methodist churches in Central Texas, so we've lost her to Waco. Zach distinguished himself in that meeting, and he is the general manager of CarMax. We didn't talk about our own individual arenas of professional service. We were talking about public education, which is a trust of all of us. We own our schools. We pay for them, we own them. We should operate them with the kind of accountability that we run our businesses and shepherd our churches and our organizations. Anyway, Zach spoke so wisely, so maturely in that meeting that I made a mental note to get to know him. I had the privilege of doing that. He is so engaged in our community. And he does that engagement, President Tom, with an extraordinary fidelity to the four-way test. He doesn't alienate anybody. He speaks directly, plainly, candidly, honestly. He'll make his way across the room to the person with an opposing point of view and have a genteel, gracious exchange with that person, the kind of values that we try to incarnate here in our Rotary Club. And that's impossible for an Aggie to do. And it's near impossible for all the rest of us. But I'm delighted to sponsor Zach for this club, and I want you to join me in welcoming him.
Thank you, Charlie, for that introduction. Gracious, I appreciate you. I love you. It's an honor to be here. When Aurora asked me to keep this under about 2.5 minutes, I'll admit I was a little bit worried. Pete Guerin gives me 3 minutes weekly at the board of meetings, so please don't cut my mic. Courtney, I know you're in here somewhere. All right. A little bit about me. I have a wife and 3 children, all Fort Worth ISD students. I was born and raised here in Tarrant County, actually in Arlington to be exact, and I'm a proud member of Texas A&M fighting class of 2002. Appreciate it. At A&M, I was in the Corps of Cadets, where the Air Force taught me a very valuable lesson: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. Those words shaped how I try to lead and how I try to live. Rotary's 4-way test is cut from the same cloth, and that's what drew me here. Except Charlie about a year ago, so he's been on me for about a year. Happy to. I didn't plan on selling cars after college. I thought I'd be a lawyer, go to law school, or maybe an Air Force pilot. And someone once asked me why I wanted to be a lawyer. Was it for the money, or was it to make a difference in people's lives? And I wasn't sure. I said, I think I want to make a difference. And he said, well, Zach, the world needs good, honest lawyers. So pursue that passion. It turns out the world needs good financial planners, like Miss Johnson. And the world needs good, honest used car dealers, too. This week, I celebrate 21 years with CarMax, where I'm the location general manager of the Hewlin Mall store near TCU. I've stayed so long because of the people. The company has a huge heart, and it rewards me for giving back through volunteering and board service. I may be on 5 boards, so I'm a little overextended. My volunteer path has taken me from the PTA president at my kids' elementary school, North Highmount, to building playgrounds at local schools like Clifford Davis and M.L. Phillips with Kaboom, and now serving as the VP of Advocacy for our district's Council of PTAs. Before I became Fort Worth ISD guy, I was actually known as Fort Worth Food Guy. I'm a major foodie, and during COVID, one thing I tried to do to help get this community through it was combine my passion for photography and new restaurants by donating my digital marketing to help them make it through the tough times. I love introducing myself to taco trucks and little barbecue stands and making friends and helping them to make sure that they got all the help they needed. I still volunteer in this capacity through the Fort Worth Food and Wine Festival, and that's where I've met friends like Hal Tran. Leaders in this room, from Charles Johnson to Hal Tran, Rosa and Courtney, and so many others, have inspired me to keep showing up. I believe most importantly in the power and promise of public education. And that's the bedrock of our democracy. And in the great words of Ben Robertson, you can't change the world from the sidelines. I'm honored to join this community that shows compassion locally while fighting disease and advocating for peace globally, one that supports our local economy and works to make Fort Worth the best city in the world. Thank you for letting me into this club, and I look forward to meeting all of you.
Okay, y'all, we've got another good one, and we've got some good people come in so far, so keep up the good work. We've made a good decision. You've made a good decision, Zach, so we're glad you're here.
All right. Take care.
And don't forget, everybody continue to recruit new people. We're really happy to have them in our organization, and looking out around the room right now and seeing some visitors. Again, well, I keep looking at the visitors, to make sure, but we want to have everybody there. So now it's time for the man in pink right here. Jonathan, come introduce our speaker for the day.
Howdy. There we go. I figured I'd start, by dressing like Atticus Finch, because that's kind of a good segue into planning, and where there's a will, there's a way. So I have the esteemed pleasure of not only working with Karen, but introducing her. Karen Telschow Johnson is an attorney who is passionate about advanced care planning, estate planning, and elder law. Karen is also a double Aggie. She graduated from Texas A&M University for undergrad and also attended Texas A&M University's School of Law and has been practicing for more than 20 years. Pretty cool. She was licensed and practiced in New York City before Texas because she had to move there after law school. Ask her about it, it's pretty neat. Karen is also very active within our community. She is the current board president of 60 and Better. She's the chair of the City of Fort Worth Human Relations Commission, former secretary of the Rotary Club and still a current board member, member of the Board of Community Healthcare of North Texas, and former president of the board of the local chapter of the Alzheimer Association, former president of Cowtown Executives Association, and is a member of the Tarrant County Bar and the Tarrant County Probate Bar. More importantly, she is also the proud mom of 2 young adults in progress, Morgan and Lily, her dogs Winnie and Rue. And she forgot to mention she's actually a mother hen to 8 young ladies every day in the office and a great mentor for these young ladies. And as she jokingly refers on a daily basis, maybe more than once, she is the Ginsburg to my Scalia. Karen.
The best thing about Jonathan and I working together is that we really do talk through everything, right? We don't yell, we don't scream, we're not newscasters or whatever, but we talk through everything. And it works to make us both better, and that's what I enjoy about having Jonathan Berry as a colleague. So thank you so much for the introduction and for being here. Now, the front 2 tables have balls of yarn, and I want someone at that table to take the end string, and I want to see this yarn at all of these tables going back, because we are going to talk about the importance of connections, right? And keeping and staying connected. Yeah, just pass it around to the table behind you and the table next to you. And we're going to understand the why. So everybody knows they need a will. That's not complicated. You're not going to be here at some point. Are we going to have a document that speaks for us, or are we going to have the state of Texas speak for us? Right? Or are we going to have family members who don't always play nice in the sandbox speak for us? Right? And I guarantee you one family member is going to say something different than another family member. All right? And so when there isn't anything in writing, this is what we're left with. We're left with the battles. But to understand our why, I want you to understand these strings. And y'all are slow at this. What? I want you to understand the string. The string typically at the beginning is very strong. You know who your parents are. You may even know your grandparents. But do you know your great-grandparents or your great-great-grandparents? And will your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren remember you? Well, they may not at some point remember your name. That was Karen. I don't know, there was a bad meme about her at one point in time, but I think she was the nice one. And she made really great matzo ball soup. But I don't know much else about her because my great-grandchildren may not remember too much about me. But I guarantee you there's a date that y'all can stop with the yarn, that's okay. That was more challenging than I thought it would be for everyone. But that also exemplifies the difficulty that we have as we get remote in time. So let's talk about remote in time. 25 years ago, on 9/11, we remember this day. Every single person in this room knows where they were on that day. Ralph, where were you?
I was getting my car fixed, and the dealer had the television going on, and all of a sudden there was all kinds of stuff on there.
Right, that's right. And so let's see over here. Where were you?
I was in class in high school.
In high school, in class. And then over here. Hey, Mitch. Hello. Hi. Where were you on 9/11?
On an airplane going to Ohio.
That's kind of scary. That was a very scary day. And so we remember where we were on 9/11. And I was in New York City on that day. I was in Bronx Family Court, and my kid was at preschool. And the first news that we heard was a helicopter had hit the top of World Trade, because we didn't have, these little devices that are so, we have access to everything within, 5 seconds, right? We didn't have these. And so we had everything coming over the news, and I had just walked into the office building and people had their televisions on, and we didn't know what was going on. So that's what we first heard, a helicopter hit it. And then, of course, within the next few hours, everything changed. And so, but particularly in New York itself, the subway stopped, public transportation stopped. I took 2 buses and the subway to get to where Bronx Family Court, Bronx Criminal Court, and the Bronx District Court were all like within 5 blocks of Yankee Stadium. So it was the Yankee Stadium stop, subway stop at the Bronx. And that's where we were, but everything got shut down. So then it was, we're evacuating all the government buildings. Okay. And so everybody then piled in the cars. And then the cars, everybody was crammed into the cars, right? 3, 6. And then as we're pulling away and trying to get away, you see behind you, towers go down, and you hear on the radio about towers going down. And everybody remembers where they were 25 years ago. So, but is there anything interesting then that happened 92 years ago? Now look at this. The Rotary Club of Fort Worth in 1934 was responsible for planting all the roses in the colonnade. So here I am walking around the botanical gardens last weekend, and I like to stop to see these little placards, right? Because I'm a history buff. And we did that. How many people in this room know that we did that? Right? 92 years ago. But I am sure, Aurora, there is a document somewhere that talks about all of the works, the good works the Rotary Club has done. But we forget. So even when we have memorials like this, we forget. And so it's important to think about then, how do we protect our legacy? 74% of American adults do not have a will. Thank you for the probate business, but let's talk about the fact that I don't like to do business that way. I really don't. I've been in the courtroom where a 92-year-old woman says hello to a 72-year-old illegitimate son that she never knew about. Although her words to me were, you know, when I die, I'm going to go kill him. I was like, here's the thing, you don't know that he knew. Because God bless you men, we know who we give birth to. We know, but you don't. And then back in the day, okay, and that day wasn't that far ago, right? Back in the day, they didn't have all of the electronic, tracking that they do now. And so here's what we encourage you to do. Planning prevents problems. It's as simple as that. Every single asset transfers according to its own laws. If you take away anything from today, I want you to understand that we live in an asset distribution system. Your will could say everything divides to your spouse and then to your 3 kids in equal shares. But if you have a bank account with a different beneficiary designation, that contract with the account controls. If that person is over the age of 18 and ascertainable, they file the death certificate and the claim form with the financial institution and they get the money. That's it. So, and everybody thinks, well, I have a joint account with my spouse, and so I know that if I die, she gets it. If she dies, I get it. That's not necessarily the case either. We have 2 different types of joint accounts in Texas. We have a co-tenancy that says that the co-tenants on there are joint account holders, but there's no survivorship language in the contract. And so it needs a beneficiary designation form filled out. And then there's also a joint tenants with rights of survivorship, where that language is in the contract, and so that the joint survivor will inherit. Now, what if the joint survivor has predeceased you and you didn't list any other beneficiary designations? That's our oops. Oops, we have a beneficiary designation failure, and that's why we need a will. Because we need to have a document that tells the court, these are our beneficiaries, and importantly, this is the person who's in charge to make sure that gets done. This is our executor who executes the terms of the will. They have to be granted legal authority. From the time someone dies to the time we actually get letters on behalf of the executor to act on behalf of the testator, there's a gap. I got a phone call this morning. I don't know, some of you heard about, anyway, so there was a motorcycle accident and somebody unexpectedly passed away. The family needs access to the bank account. I have the power of attorney, I need to be able to get into the account. You're the principal acting as your agent, right? So when you set up these documents, when you set up your agent, your power of attorney, your agent, when the principal dies, that power dies. So now I have a power of attorney that's not effective. And has anybody filed a will in probate court? It doesn't happen overnight. Getting letters testamentary, there's all sorts of due process that has to happen before that. And that can take months. And so a will is great. That time frame between when someone dies and when we have to probate the will, nobody has legal authority to act, right? And so when I was going on a trip at one point, my first trip to Israel back in 2017, I went to my bank, which is BBVA at that point, and it was 2 days before I was leaving, and of course, it was the last minute, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should have given this to you earlier. Here's my power of attorney. And my brother was going to be able to handle everything. And they went, oh, that'll take 2 weeks to be approved by our legal department. Great. What can I do, right? What can I do now? And they said, oh, we can put him on as a custodian. All right, so which is great, which is what we did. So that in the event I'm in transit between we don't know if I'm alive or dead, at least they have my brother on there as custodian to be able to handle that. So every financial institution has its own documents as to how things should work. So the idea behind a will is that at least I have a document that says who my beneficiaries are and who's in charge. Without that will, we're left potentially with an intestate succession. And that's where we have to find intestate heirs. Right? If there's no document that says who your beneficiaries are, that's why that 92-year-old got to say hello to a 72-year-old, because we find people. We have 23andMe, we have Ancestry.com, we find people. We didn't used to be able to find people, but now everything's electronic and we can find people. And so you don't want surprises. I do have families that come in and say, okay, when I was a teenager, we gave a child up for adoption, she's not been a part of the family. Those are the people that come back. Because then I have to find adoption orders from 30, 40 years ago to see whether or not they have the right to inherit. Right? So there's all these questions when you have no will, so that if you have a will, it prevents problems. So, but everybody asks me, what's the difference between a will and a trust? What should I have? Well, the answer is probably both. But what you should have is a very good consult with a lawyer to find out, what exactly you need. All right, so a will is what I call a below ground document. It has no legal effect until you die. And then it only has legal effect when there's a court order that admits it to probate court. Prior to that, it's just paper. Right? People come in all the time. I'm the executor. Not yet. It's going to take a bit. And so a trust is an above ground document because while you're alive, you can title assets in and out of it. And I'm talking about a revocable trust. There's a lot of different types of trusts, but the most commonly used is a revocable trust. While you're alive, you can title assets in and out of it. And then when you die, the provisions become irrevocable because the people who created it aren't alive anymore, so they can't change it. And then it goes out to your beneficiaries. And you can think about how it should go out to your beneficiaries. Should it go out to them directly? Here's your money. But I don't know about you, but I don't know too many 18-year-olds that should have a bucket of money. Not mine. They're responsible children, but no. And then my oldest, horrible with money. Everybody has different psychology with money. That's just the way that is. Horrible with money. And my youngest hoards money. Honey, could you pay your rent? But Mom, I like having money in my account. I know, but I like you having a roof over your head. Pay rent, right? So you can give money in staggered distributions. You can give it to them into their own trust, or you can say, here's your money. And so different ways to make distributions. And so, but let's talk about an easy way to understand how trusts work. Trusts are a contractual relationship between people according to the terms of the trust. So here's the ice cream example. I'm going to give you a $20 bill. All right, that's trust corpus. Trust doesn't exist without trust assets. The body of the trust corpus, okay? So trust corpus, 20 bucks. I'm going to give this to the trustee, and I said, I want you to take my children, Morgan and Lily, aren't they lovely, for ice cream. And you're going to go, cool, we're going to go do that. And I put ice cream because it's 110 degrees outside, and aren't we wanting, see, and we have ice cream here today. I don't know how fortuitous that was, but I thought that was pretty cool, literally and physically. So, and go take them for ice cream. And so those are the terms. Take the beneficiaries for ice cream, and you use the assets for that purpose. And so you're going to go do that. You're going to take them to McDonald's, and they're going to go get the nuggets and the fries and all the things, and then they're going to get the stuff in a cone. And then you're going to come back and you're going to bring me $5 change. When there's no more change, when there's no more trust assets, there's no more trust. And I'm going to say, what'd you do? We went to McDonald's. We got the stuff in a cone and nuggets and fries. Wait, you got the stuff in a cone? Oh, you've breached your fiduciary duty. There is no dairy in McDonald's ice cream. There is no ice cream in McDonald's ice cream. There are sugars and chemicals and all sorts of little compounds that make it look and taste wonderful, right? But there's no ice cream there. So you've breached your fiduciary duty. So someone, on behalf of the beneficiaries or the beneficiaries themselves, if they're of age, can sue the trustee for fiduciary breach. Fiduciary just means legal relationship, legal obligation. That's all fiduciary is. Legal obligation. So that's all a trust is. We have the trustee taking trust assets, benefiting the beneficiaries according to terms. When you're the initial trustee or co-trustee with your spouse, you're in charge of everything. You do exactly everything the way you do now. It doesn't change anything. All you're doing when you become a trustee is add on another legal hat. Right now you exist as an individual. When you have a trust, you exist as a trustee. I refinanced my house about 4 years ago. All the paperwork, Karen Telshaw Johnson, trustee of the Telshaw Johnson Trust. Right? So it doesn't change anything, but it adds a level of protection in that if when and if I die or I become incapacitated, my successor trustee can act on my behalf, which is I love it as an incapacity document. But then also, when I die, they can seek to transfer those assets, trust assets, without ever having to step foot in probate court. And so it makes a little bit more complexity at the front end, but a much smoother back end. And so there's a lot more I could go into on it, but those are the basics of wills and trusts, okay? A will has to be probated. And Texas probate is not awful. It's an independent administration, meaning independent of the court. We literally go see a judge for 10 minutes, get the executor assigned, and we do everything out of probate court. And the same thing we do in trust when somebody dies. Gather assets, pay debts, make distributions to beneficiaries. Same process. Although in probate court, we have to go see a judge to get legal authority. And so when somebody comes in and they have a trust and they have a will and they have other things, the first thing we do is, how is every single asset titled? I have an estate we just got in yesterday where 2 properties are in the trust, and I have an account with no beneficiary designations. We're going to have to do both. That's okay. But they have a plan, and the property that's in Kansas isn't going to have a probate proceeding in Kansas because it's in the trust. And so that's very helpful. So the other reason to establish a trust, there are no normal families. None. Normal is a setting on the dryer. That's it. No normal nothing. I think the more we go through in life, we realize that. Right? But when we have issues with special needs children, special needs grandchildren, when we have adult children dealing with addiction issues, or we have siblings that we've cared for our entire lives and they're going to need money too, all that remains private in a trust. It remains private. If I have to file a will, it becomes part of the public record. But if we need special provisions in a trust because we're concerned about privacy, I don't want to put those provisions in a will. That's nobody's business. All right, I have clients come to me, we're dealing with, alcoholism and drug addiction. Addiction is the worst disease on the planet. One of these days I hope for a great cure for it. But families really struggle with these issues. And if you still want to benefit somebody who's maybe on public benefits, we need to do that in a supplemental or special needs trust. That provision needs to be in a trust document. Should be in a trust document. It can be in a will. I'm just a big fan of privacy and helping families not, be part of that public sector. So that's the main reason nowadays people want a trust. One, I have properties in multiple states, and if I title it in the trust, I get to avoid multi-jurisdictional probates. And 2, privacy. Family's not perfect, no normal families. Let's put in special provisions to help them. Okay. So, I know I just got a few minutes left, but I thought this document was really important, and I have this document, it's at the back when you leave if you want it. But the Texas Pulse form is now being used in all of our hospital systems. And the one things I don't like from my clients is surprises. Nobody likes to be surprised. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I had to have my gallbladder removed, okay? And so, but it was planned. I'd been sick for about a year. Finally, it was like Zantac not doing it, Pepsid's not doing it, medications aren't, fine, let's just get it out. Okay. So I picked the surgeon, planned everything. 30 seconds, I'm being rolled into the surgical suite. Ms. Johnson, we need you to sign at that point it was the Most form, same form. We need you to sign the Pulse form. And I went, is my surgeon bad? Is it? It's regular gallbladder surgery, right? We're not doing anything too crazy. And they said, well, and I went, no. My medical power of attorney is out there. My agent is out there. She knows everything about me. I trust her implicitly. Best friend of 30 years. No, I'm good. I do not need to sign this right before. They had already given me goofy juice, for goodness sakes. She's a little late on her job, I think. But, so this form is a portable medical order. It's the physician's order for life-sustaining treatment. It is signed between a physician and a patient or the patient's agent. It is more expansive than this advanced care planning directed to physicians document we have that says that if you're in a CCU or an ICU setting, a physician qualifies you as being at the end of life, and they've written that in your chart. Do you want to be left on the machine or pulled from the machine? It's a very narrow in scope directive that we have. And so because of that, patients were like, you know what, we need doctors and medical staff to know more about us. So we want to understand, the first section of this document is, do you want CPR? Right? That's the first page. Do you want CPR? You may want it, you may not want it. I will tell you, I want it now. Do I want it maybe when I'm 110? Nah, maybe not. Don't crack my ribs. Don't put a lot of medication in me. Don't do all the bad things. But right now, sure, do that. But then I volunteer at an oncology office, and we have to talk about levels of treatment. As an example, COPD patients, right? Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. They choose their treatment levels based on what kind of oxygen levels they have. So the first is full treatment, do everything. CPAP, BiPAP, intubate me, do everything. Selective treatment, maybe CPAP and BiPAP, but no more intubation, we're done with that. Right? And then we get to a point, comfort-focused treatment. Right? So that's palliative care. But let me tell you something, palliative care is at every level of treatment. It's pain management. And so I remember I went in with my mom into the hospital, and she's a pain patient, and within like 4 hours of being there, I was like, pain meds now. Pain meds for mom now. And they were like, oh no, she's not dying. I said, no, I need the palliative care team. And they went, oh, well, she's not dying. No, she's in pain. That has to be controlled. She has a regimen. You're giving her a shot of morphine every 4 hours. Not gonna do it. And when she starts screaming at you, you're gonna start screaming for the palliative care team. Palliative care is pain management. So never let that word scare you when they talk about that with your loved ones. And never let the word hospice scare you. That's also a treatment plan, right? It can be up to 2 years of palliative care treatment and hospice treatment. It's a higher level of insurance coverage, right? You get better services. So don't let the word hospice fool you or scare you either. And so you get to pick your level of treatment, and these things can change over time. And then medically assisted nutrition and hydration. Maybe you want it for a week. Maybe you don't want it at all. And then it's signed by the patient and the patient's physician and or the agent for the patient. So this document is good in a hospital and out of a hospital. A lot of our advanced care planning documents are one or the other, right? The out-of-hospital DNR, out of the hospital. The directive to physicians, in a hospital. This one, both. So it's a very convenient tool for having better discussions with your family members as to what they want and what they don't want. What does your last best day look like? What do you want that to be? So when we had the oncology office, we had the patient was like, and they had a great, possibility of an outcome. They were really doing well on their treatments. And he said, every Sunday, I cook for the parish. Now, I'm back in the kitchen because I don't want to go listen to the priests. I'm done. I've spent decades of my life listening to the priests. I'm done. I cook, and I want to be able to cook for the community every Sunday. And I said, okay, so we need to pick treatment plans that meet that need for you, right? He needs to be able to use his hands. If he can't stand up, we have to make sure that, we can adjust things for him that way. Does he need to be doing things at home? How can we assist him in having the quality of life that he wants, right? Because that's the most important thing, right? Is quality. And so this matters because it brings about better discussions. Importantly, it's where you as the patient get to keep everything in control. I bet that's me. And it avoids unwanted and aggressive treatment. The most important thing for our clients is protecting dignity. That is what we do. In a valuable estate plan and protecting everything that you've built through your life. And it doesn't mean that you have to have millions and millions of dollars, but you do have a life worth remembering and respecting. And that happens when you've taken the time to tell your family that in documentation as well. So I've always loved this quote, strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. And that's what we all strive to do as Rotarians, right? So thank you for letting me speak to you today. I really love this group. Thank you so much. So I think we do have a minute or two for questions, if there's any questions. And there may not be, that's fine. Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain to the group the difference between a medical power of attorney and a Holst, and the importance of a family member having it and it not sitting in your office?
Yeah, and you know who that is, right? So.
Community healthcare / hospital.
Yeah, and I might be on her board. But she's right. So, so our power of attorney documents where us as a principal extend authority to an agent to act on our behalf. Medically, it means then with the medical power of attorney document that your agent can speak for you, but your agent can speak for you only when you can't speak for yourself. Right? So you don't give the medical power of attorney and then the agent comes and says, okay, I can now talk for the patient. So it's one of our only springing documents in Texas. It springs to life when needed. When I say, how are you feeling today? And you say, purple, floor, ball, you're not communicating effectively. So you need someone to speak on your behalf. All right? So that's the medical power of attorney. That's your agent. And then it goes dormant when you're fine. Right? And so that's how that works. And then again, a lot of these documents is when are they effective? Then the Pulse document's effective. It's a signed portable medical order with you and a physician. Yes?
If I want to recognize Rotary in my will, if I sign a console with Rotary, does it also need to be mentioned in my will?
Yes, it does. Needs to be in the document. Yes. And I'd highly encourage that. Yes.
When does a will become public? You said it becomes public.
When it is filed with the court, because it has to be probated.
So at probate?
At probate, yes. And it's not easy to find. You still have to dig to find it, but it can be found. It's part of the public records, yes. Yes?
Should you keep multiple copies, and who should have a copy of the will or trust?
Yeah, that is a good question. So ideally, it should be your first agent. So it should be your spouse, or it should be, whoever you name as executor. That's the one who needs to have your documents. And so all of these documents are good as copies, except for the will. The will, we have to be able to probate an original. We can probate a copy. We just have additional steps to jump through in the event we can't find an original, because we have about 200 years of case laws that says if we don't have an original will, it's revoked by operation of law. So to overcome that burden of presumption, we then have to have additional evidence to prove up a copy of a will. So always know where the original is. Always tell your family members. My entire family knows that my original documents are at my office, because my office is safer than my house. It's in a bank building, for goodness sake. Although it was subject to a fire in January. But all copies are on the server. So copies are great, and can be. And I encourage you to email them to your agents as well. If you don't have them scanned in, have that done. All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Karen. Just a moment. It's obvious, even though her terms and language are very easy to understand for all of us today, I should say. Everyone needs an attorney. I'm not just saying that because I'm married to one, but it's a good idea. And even we have an attorney too, since my personal attorney does not specialize in the same area. It's a tradition of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth to make a donation to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund in your honor. We really appreciate you speaking today, and thanks for continuing to be a Rotary Club member.
All right, thank you.
Take care. Okay, couple of things. First of all, thanks again to Steve and B for the flags today. If you're sitting on yours, then I don't know how you got to sit on it, but no, you take it with you, please. So we do appreciate the Simon's flags. We've also just want to remind everybody that sometimes we don't hear about people that may be ill, that are members of our club, which we do care for a lot. Sometimes we won't see them for a while. Sometimes many things could happen. I could say a lot of different names and whatnot, but as you're saying your prayers or thoughts during the week, just keep that in mind, that there's some people around you that ordinarily would be around you that may not be. We lost one of our good members, Tom Sturdivant, of many years Rotarian, this last week, and we just hope he'll be in everyone's memories. If you didn't know him, just know that he was a very, very good gentleman and longtime Fort Worthian, of course, and we will miss him in our club. So, we've got a board meeting after the meeting, so just for a reminder, you board members. So that'll be downstairs in the Rotary office. Next week, I'm really looking forward to next Friday. It's going to be a great, great program. I'm sure you all will be here, and if you are, well, sorry, I was just telling a fib. It's Labor Day, so we do not have a meeting next week. And you'll have to read your rotograph to find out who's going to speak after that. So make sure you read it when you get it. Thank you very much for being here today. Guests, consider joining our club. We want to have you. Hosts, please tell your guests about that. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.